Shadow of the Colossus is a complex piece of art hidden behind a wall of simplicity. And for some, that wall is all they'll ever see. To truly understand what's beyond the wall with Shadow of the Colossus, you first have to understand Ueda. And I'm planning on making a video about him by itself to further explain the genius behind his games. But I'll leave that for another date or for your own research. But again, I want to kind of help those that are stuck looking at the wall and show you what's behind it. For me, this game is one large puzzle, and in order to see the bigger picture, you have to build this puzzle out in smaller sections, be it the world, combat, the story, and how all those interweave together to tell a bigger story, or help you have a different interpretation of what it might be. For some, this game represents 9/11. And for more on that, I'll provide a link in the description that goes over a film in Hollywood that kind of ran with that theory. It's pretty amazing. But I want to start off by talking about the world. At first glance, it's just a barren wasteland. In reality, that barren wasteland is very lonely and provides the atmosphere to kind of describe what's going on with the main character, who we know nothing about, who has no dialogue. The barren landscape is also incredibly beautiful. It also can be very terrifying or daunting. And on top of that, when you're traversing it, it's very complicated. And what's neat about this game is every point that I just brought up kind of interweave together. So, as an example, you're lonely in this beautiful world that's also terrifying and complicated once you understand where you're going. And the actual combat and the story in itself also pulls from those very key points. As an example, when you finally figure out where you're going and how to get there, and you come across your very first Colossus, it looks lonely because it's all by itself. It's got sad eyes. It's also beautiful because, especially back when it first came out, you had never seen anything like this before, especially in a video game. It's incredibly terrifying because they're huge and you're so small and you're so ill-equipped with your bow, your horse, or your sword. I mean, that's all you got. And then once you recognize all that, it becomes terrifying and extremely complicated on how am I going to get on top of this thing and kill it. Which brings me to my next point. The combat is incredibly technical and incredibly satisfying, while also being very confusing from an emotional standpoint, because you're going after this lonely beast without really a narrative as to why you're going after these beasts. And once you finally take it down, because it's going to take you a while to figure out that puzzle, you feel accomplished, while at the same time you feel saddened by the fact that you just took down this majestic creature without a reason or a cause. People want to always talk about how Sony is only movie games and it's not all about the gameplay. And what's strikingly odd to me is these very same people are passing on this game because it looks boring, and they're just looking at the surface of it all, and they're not bothering to dive into it, or it's got bad controls, and that to me is strikingly odd and bothersome in a lot of ways for me, because I feel like they're really missing out on truly one of the greatest games ever created, for not only the things I mentioned, but things that I have yet to experience. And what's funny about all this is I've only played 6 hours of the game. I haven't even finished it yet. I was playing it on PlayStation Now early on in this generation, and my PlayStation Now subscription ran out. And then once The Last Guardian came out, I had a feeling that they were going to remaster this, and thank God I was right, because now I'll get to finish it in a more modern way, more modern version. And I want to dive back into the 3 points: world, combat, and story. And like I was trying to explain to everybody, this is every point that you come up with, along with the world and how it's lonely and beautiful and complicated, and how that also ties into the combat, which also ties into the story. So all these points that you bring up, they all interweave together across all three of these puzzle pieces. And once you get to the end, from what I gather, they all fit together and create one experience. And that experience will be different for every single individual that plays this game, because we'll all each have our own interpretations of it and how we link it to our own lives and experiences. And that's part of the reason why I feel like if you own a PS4, this game is a must buy. And I also feel the exact same way about The Last Guardian. And I would also say that The Last Guardian, in a lot of ways, is better than this game. But I'll do another video on that once I finally complete Shadow of the Colossus. But like I said, I'm going to post a link into the description that kind of dives into the 9/11 theory, if you will, with this game, and how it was used in a Hollywood film called Rain on Me with Adam Sandler. It's pretty freaking amazing. And I hope you guys really do give this game a shot. It's $40. It's supposedly one of the most beautiful looking games on the PS4 to date. There's really no reason why you shouldn't try it. And again, don't get stuck at the wall, right? Try to get around it and see what's beyond the surface. Because on the surface, you're right. It's simplistic, it's boring, there's nothing to do. It's just, 16 boss fights. But in reality, that's so far from the truth. There's so much more to this game. Anyway, this is Silver, trying to help you guys see past the wall. Until next time, have a good one.